Is this thing on? How's it going, everyone, for this week? Welcome to Candle of Knowledge Redux. My name is Jarvis Smith. If this is the first time you're ever seeing one of my videos, I appreciate you checking me out. If you're returning, once again, I appreciate it as well. Candle and Knowledge is about the life and lessons that my parents taught me in the wake of their deaths and how I'm using it to guide my life throughout this entire journey. Welcome. Now, I hope you guys are all enjoying yourselves out here because I know I've been doing my thing out here as well. It's been a busy few weeks, but hey, things are still looking good by the time this episode comes out. All right. But, as things are coming along, it's been got me thinking about quite a few things overall. And one of those things is as you kind of navigate, you reach different milestones, different achievements, different accomplishments that you have for yourself, whether it be developments in your personal self for finances or for education, for new opportunities that you get, connections that you get, whatever. You start thinking about these different milestones and the people who are with you on this journey. And sometimes that old question, is it lonely at the top? Now, the top is something different for every single person. The top for some people can be money, some people can be, luxury things and homes, and other things can be, being able to travel different places. Some people having a lot of different people around them or whatever, just having the leisure to be on their own time. The top can mean so many other things for some other people throughout this world. So everyone has their own different thought process on what the top means to them. For me, the top is just me being able to live out my life on my own terms, with my own voice being heard throughout the process. That's what the top is to me. Me also being the best version of myself and knowing that every single day that I wake up, I'm doing something that I believe in, whether it be professionally, personally, or definitely creatively. I'm doing something that I believe in that inspires me. That's me being at the top. At this point in my career, in my life, I am definitely at the top right now. That's what I'm feeling right now. Yes. Have I peaked? Absolutely not. There's still more levels. There's still more stuff for me to learn too. I'm not saying I know everything, but I do feel like I'm at the top of my game as far as how far I've come from where I was as a youth, as a young teenager, to a young adult, to the grown man that I am now, thanks to so many different people along the way. But throughout that process, I started asking that question as I'm reaching these milestones for myself. It's like, is it lonely at the top, man? Like, you hear that question, you start doing these different things, you start looking around. It's like, okay, who's with you? Who can you call up? I'm living out here in California. A lot of my friend group that I grew up with, don't live out here in California, but I definitely made some great connections and friends and deep family members out here who have become amazing people in my life. Shout out to those dope people and on this journey. But it does ask that question, like, okay, is it lonely at the top as you hit these different milestones? You know what I'm saying? And add the context of like my parents not being here and alive and stuff like that. And you start asking that question, is it lonely at the top as you reach your milestones? Well, for me, it's always been about what do I define as being lonely? For me, I am alone, but I am not lonely. If you know what movie that's from, let me know. Go ahead, drop that in the comments. All right. But yeah, no. I think that the biggest thing throughout my journey, throughout my career as overall, I had to realize when I was pursuing these different creative things, whether it be on the business side of entertainment, whether it be on the personal side of entertainment, that a lot of people weren't going to come along with me. I realized that when I was out here working these different live events that I was working. I'm coming from the live entertainment industry for my profession, day to day profession here. And when I was taking those plane rides, those different car rides, those different train rides, and everything like that, checking into these different hotels and different homes and meeting up with a lot of these different people. I was making new connections, meeting new people along the way, but some of the people that I came up with, some of the people that I remember going to school with, whatever, they weren't with me on this journey. I was out here in this world on my own, getting it, making it happen. But it was just me out here, it was just me. So I had to embrace that part. Like, man, I'm gonna have to, really understand that as I'm doing this journey, I'm on my path, and some of the people I came up with, they're on their path too, but I'm on my path. And just because we're not on the same path doesn't mean there's conflict or anything like that. But it's just that you have to be comfortable with this idea that a lot of people you came up with may not necessarily be on the exact same path as you as far as what you're going to be involved with your interests are, etc. But you got to keep pursuing this. You can't let that be the reason why you don't go ahead and go pursue this opportunity because you got to go out here by yourself. You got to go out there by yourself. I'll never forget when I first came out to California, man, I had my opportunity to work some concerts and some music festivals out here in California. And it was exciting, but it was my first time coming out here and I had to do it by myself. There wasn't like a group of people that I knew that I came up with that was coming with me. That was around 2013. And I had to plant those seeds for myself to get myself involved in this. The beautiful thing was I met a lot of dope people. I met some people, two people in my life that were very close to me. And those people became deep family members to me. And we have a great relationship, long-term relationship as far as our friendship goes. They're just like my friends from back home in Chicago, back home in Illinois. But I had to get out there and do that, man. And you have to kind of pursue that and just kind of break the boundaries and just kind of get out your comfort zone. And for me, coming from my hometown of Palos Hills, Illinois, a southwest suburb of Chicago, sometimes it can be very easy to stay inside my environment. It can be very easy to stay within that comfort zone of what you know and just only stick to the environment that you know. But there's so much more out there to this world. There's so much more to things that I can experience and things that I can see. So I didn't want that to be the thing that was going to stop me from moving forward. So I had to just accept the fact that, some of the people I came up with, I can still be in contact with them. I can still tap in with them. I can still reach out to them, especially in this era that we're in of social media and FaceTime this and texting that. If you really care about your people, you will be in contact with your people. And the great thing I can say about my people, my team, my squad, my inner circle, that we definitely stay in contact with each other. But it was just really about getting out there and experiencing the world and having to do that and having to understand that, man, on these different journeys that you're going to do it by yourself, but you can't be afraid to do that, just because you're going to be quote unquote alone by yourself. You can't associate doing things alone with being lonely. No, you're just going to do it alone, but that's okay. That's all right. That's just part of the journey. So that was the first part of me understanding that and accepting that and then navigating through this. The next part of it was just understanding as you continue to get older, and level up in age, people's interests change, people's interests evolve. Some people start families, some people start to get into different career interests, some people start to move around the world and stuff like that, and that takes them in different places. And though we do have technology to stay in contact with each other, but just still, time is not the same. Everyone is busy with different things and different obligations, etc. So as I was getting older, I had to understand that you have to be very comfortable, kind of the same thing as before, but just as you walk into these new experiences alone, that you just have to get comfortable that you're going to have these different moments where not every single person is going to be with you as you're having these different moments of celebration, or they may not even have the same understanding of the celebration of what the moment is, but they are excited for you, right? The good ones, the real ones are excited for you, even though they may not understand the full like extent of like what this all means for this new promotion you got in this industry or this new connection you made in this industry or whatever you might be doing in your personal life or professional life or whatever, or even your creative life that really excites you, that maybe that person just doesn't get it because their life is gone in a different direction where their day-to-day is focused on these different obligations versus your day-to-day is focused on this obligation. So although you may be sharing these updates, it may not be registering the same way. He said maybe it once did when y'all were younger and teenagers or young adults or whatever it may be as you kind of level up in age and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that the people with you aren't interested. It just means that just again, things have just evolved so much that, they are not looped in the same thing that you're looped in on, vice versa. They may be looped in some things you're not looped in on. So but you have to still be okay with that as you continue to level up. Like, hey, man, as I'm doing these things, some people may not just understand what I'm doing. And that may create this feeling like, damn, man, it's like no one understands me, no one gets me, or whatever, right? That can kind of create this feeling of feeling alone, feeling lonely, in particular, feeling lonely as you start reaching these milestones and you start achieving different things for yourself. But you just got to understand that that process just represents, your growth in your direction and their growth in theirs, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. But I think again, the real people, the most genuine people, they just care about you. Even if they can't understand what you're talking about exactly, they care about the excitement that you have in your voice. They care about what you're bringing to this conversation, this update that you're giving. They're just championing to see the person that they met 20 somebody years ago, 20, 25, 30 years ago, whatever. I got some deep relationships that go that far that they just still getting it out here and they understand it. So that's the dope thing about it. So again, as you continue through that journey, that's something that I had to understand as well that, that's how it's going to have to be overall. So just don't let that be the reason why it stops you from being great and pursuing your personal interests and going far with it overall. Another part of this thought process was that I had to just be mindful and be aware that it's okay for alone time. It's okay for silence. It's okay that things are always loud out here. What do I mean by that? I mean, like sometimes things are just going to be calm and still, and there's not going to be a lot of noise around you where, people are either singing your praises or bringing up issues or whatever. You just have to embrace the quiet time around you. And sometimes that silence can bother some people. Like, man, it's just too quiet around here. There's not enough noise around here. I get all this stuff going on, but there's no one to talk to about it, whatever. It's just too silent around here. But there's nothing wrong with the silence. Embrace the silence. Embrace what I would say the isolation being a positive thing, from that type of environment where it's always noisy or there's someone to sing your praises or whatever. Sometimes it just ain't gonna be like that, man. That's just another part of it too, right? The silence just comes from you know how hard you worked, you know what you did, you know what energy you put in to get to where you're at. And it doesn't need to be this whole entire parade every single time you reach a milestone. Sometimes the best results are just done in silence and you just move yourself forward in your life. It's okay that there's not a bunch of people liking, commenting, or giving that energy, whether it be on the digital world or the physical world, right? It's okay about that. Don't be so caught up in being that the silence, that there's no reaction to what you're doing, that it's not worthwhile, and that somehow this is that what I'm doing is a wrong thing. And now I feel alone, I feel lonely, I feel sad because man, no one's singing my praises or whatever. No, you shouldn't do it for the adulation. It should be done for the reflection of yourself. That was a big part of it too for me. It's like, okay, embrace the silence. It's okay if you get these silent victories where they're big milestones, but they're just personal milestones for yourself that sometimes they don't get shared in the post. They don't get highlighted on LinkedIn. They don't get featured in a magazine, but you know you did it. You know you accomplished it. You know you took yourself from point A to point B and then point somewhere further than anyone can even imagine. And it's hard for them to even imagine where you're at now, but you know what you did to get there. So you don't have to re-explain your success. Just walk into that silence and be confident with that silence and not let that be the thing that bothers you. That was something that was very important to me, going throughout this process, because there's going to be a lot of huge victories that are done in silence and there's not going to be an applause by it, but it doesn't mean it's not worthwhile. It doesn't mean that, man, I should kind of change what I'm doing because I'm having all these cool moments, but I'm no one's with me, so they can't mean anything. They do mean something, but it just means something to the person, you, and it doesn't mean something to an audience all the time. And be okay with that and be fine with that. I think that maybe taking about this concept, is it lonely at the top? The only reason why maybe it could feel lonely at the top, thinking about it from the other side, right? Just a little bit from the other side. Why it could feel lonely at the top. Just gonna say it in general, is that sometimes maybe there could be people that were with you on a journey, right? And y'all were mapping it out together, neck and neck, arm in arm, everything. Y'all were mapping out the whole entire plan. Y'all had the vision, y'all had vision boards, y'all had meetings, y'all had powwows, y'all had everything together, right? You were investing into each other, whatever it was, you were building it together. And this could be applied to either business, it could be applied to a personal situation, it can be applied to creativity, whatever that you're doing. But you and maybe a person or group of people, you just all had the same mindset at the time. You're all getting it together, but then somewhere along the way, that person or persons just lost the same energy for what it was that y'all shared in common, whatever it may have been, right? They just lost it. And then now they start to veer off. And maybe the way they start to veer off wasn't in a positive way, wasn't in a way that was productive. It was completely opposite of every single thing that y'all talked about. And it's like, man, who is this person becoming now? Because this is completely opposite of what we were talking about. And while this is happening to that person or persons that you wanted with you, you start to ascend because you never change. You never left. You stay consistent. You stay focused and you start reaching those milestones. And then you get to that milestone that you want. And then you're standing on that milestone and you're like, dang, man, it kind of feels kind of lonely because, me and such, me and that group we were with, we were all talking about this. And now I'm literally the only person here. And now it feels like you're lonely because the people that you really wanted on this journey for whatever reason couldn't see the vision all the way through like you did, even though y'all shared the same, time in the day, etc. But for somehow they just lost it. And now you're here standing on your own. And that person is completely gone. They're here, but they're just completely gone. They're nowhere near where you're at because somewhere along the way, something happened to them that just made a change for them. And that can create that loneliness feeling. I can understand how that can be painful. But man, with that being said, standing on that, you got to realize that the vision that you have for yourself, sometimes it's only applied for one person. And as much as you want everyone to have that vision to get it, you can't control people to hold people to what they're trying to, what you're trying to accomplish together, for that matter. um, People are going to be their own individuals. They're going to make their own decisions. They're going to go down their own path in their own directions. They're going to accomplish what they want to accomplish or go that route that they want to go. And no matter how hard that you try to talk to them or convince them or like trying to get them to stay on the course or whatever, or what y'all really talked about, something just happens where they can't stop veering to the left or to the right, opposite of where you were trying to go with the team or with that person. And you got to keep going forward because that's just how it is sometimes. It is the truth. Not everyone's going to come along with you, even the closest one you really want. And it's up to you how you want your story to be.